I will bless the Lord at all times, and his praise shall continually be on my mouth. Today, brothers and sisters, we continue to pursue the fast that God chooses, and our theme for this segment is, will the real Daniel fast? Please stand up. Now, if you remember correctly, we define biblical fasting as abstaining from food for a period of time. Total abstinence of food for a period of time. Yet we see in Daniel a variety of, how should I put it, a variety of events that involve fasting that don't necessarily comport with the biblical definition. So which one is actually a fast? That's what we're going to explore today. And now, one of the things I got to set forward is this, that the purpose of fasting, we've already defined purpose. The purpose is, or method, one or the other, is to afflict the soul. And when we afflict the soul, what we are doing is we're trying to get it under control, in line with the will of God. We talked about denying ourselves, taking up our cross, and following him. Those are all in previous videos that you need to go back and watch and make sure that you get on the same page. But to explore the Daniel fast or Daniel's fasting, let's start with Daniel chapter 1. That's the first fast we see him go on, or the first event we find him in. Daniel chapter 1. Let's get over there real quick. In Daniel chapter 1, and I'm going to start reading probably at about verse 2 or 3. So if you get there, let's go right to it. Daniel chapter 1, verse... Let's start at verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand with some of the vessels of the house of God. And he brought them to the land of Shinar, to the house of his God, and placed the vessels in the treasury of his God. Then the king commanded Ashpenaz, his chief eunuch, to bring some of the people of Israel, both of the royal family and of the nobility, youths without blemish, of good appearance, and skillful in all wisdom, endowed with knowledge, understanding, learning, and competent to stand in the king's palace, and to teach them the literature and language of the Chaldeans. The king assigned them a daily portion of the food that the king ate, and of the wine that he drank. They were to be educated for 3 years, and at the end of that time they were to stand before the king. Among these were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah of the tribes of Judah. And the chief of the eunuchs gave them names. Daniel he called Belteshazzar, Hananiah he called Shadrach, Mishael he called Meshach, and Azariah he called Abednego. But Daniel resolved that he would not defile himself with the king's food or with the wine that he drank. Therefore he asked the chief of the eunuchs to allow him not to defile himself. And God gave Daniel favor and compassion in the sight of the chief of the eunuchs. And the chief of the eunuchs said to Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who assigned your food and your drink, For why should he see that you were in worse condition than the youths who were of your own age? So you would endanger my head with the king. Then Daniel said to the steward, whom the chief of the eunuchs had assigned over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, test your servants for 10 days. Let us be given vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then let our appearance and the appearance of the youths who eat the king's food be observed by you, and deal with your servants according to what you see. So he listened to them in this matter and tested them for 10 days. At the end of 10 days, it was seen that they were better in appearance and fatter in flesh than all the youths who ate the king's food. So the steward took away their food and their wine they were to drink and gave them vegetables. Now, this is what we know as the Daniel fast. But remember now, the purpose of a fast is to afflict the soul, to get it in line with the purpose of God. But right here we see that Daniel's not afflicting his soul. The purpose that Daniel has here is not to get himself in line with the will of God. The text states what his purpose is, and his purpose is in verse 8. What does it say? But Daniel resolved that he would not defile himself with the king's food or with the wine that he drank. Daniel's purpose in requesting that he not eat the king's meat was so he could not defile himself. What does it mean to defile yourself? To defile yourself means that you take you do things that make you unclean. And when a person is unclean, he cannot go into the presence of God. When a person is declared unclean, he is excluded from the community of God. So, in other words, he can't fellowship with God's people. As a matter of fact, in the Old Testament, what they were to do when you were unclean is they put you out of the camp. You got put out. So you find yourself put out from the presence of God and put out from the people of God. And Daniel declares that this is not going to happen. So again, his purpose here is not to afflict his soul, but instead to not defile himself. Well, if you're being blessed by this series on fasting, I need you to do something for me. I need you to pray for me, my family, my wife, Cheryl, my son, Winfred II, my daughter, Wendy Elizabeth, and my grandson, Trey. Secondly, I want you to give, not to me, but to the local ministries that you now support. I want you to give them a special offering and direct it toward their food pantry or to their homeless ministry, the ministry that's going to help those on the street. Now, if the church that you belong to does not have a ministry like that, then I want you to direct your offering toward New Faith Baptist International / the Joseph Assignment. Now, that's the church that I eat at. And I know that they do wonderful things in a number of locations, both in the United States as well as abroad. And they're not going to mess up no money. So I'd ask that you direct your gifts to them at newfaith.org/the Joseph Assignment. If you don't want to give to that way, then the other thing that you can do is, if you're in Chicago, the Chicago Food Depository, or Red Cross, or Catholic Charities, or maybe there's somebody in your neighborhood, some mother that's struggling with children, or there's someone that you come across and the Lord tells you to bless them. I want us to bless others as you are being blessed. Amen? So will you do that for me, please? I appreciate it. Be blessed.